Hey everyone, it's Will, Gamer Dad, with another video for you. So if you're able to finish chapter 4 of the 3000 Realm arc, you will now have a new dungeon to grind out celestial souls instead of doing it from the overworld. Note that at the top reward is 430,000 points, which is going to be a pain to grind in the overworld unless you use macros. So that being said, you might as well go to the dungeon Sea of Ice, where you can grind out not only Sheila AS's light, you can also get an increased amount of points. Now, if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. I also do have a Patreon account for those who want to support me this way. So this dungeon is similar yet different than the original Dragon Palace. So note that there are some floating pips, and that will indicate how many true pearls there are in each run of the dungeon. Just like before, you'll need up to 50 of them, and I'll show you at the end of the video what you need those for. But just keep in mind that you can get to 50 fairly easily. It's really random how many of those are out there in each run. However, I've seen for myself personally up to 12 and as few as 3. So bear that in mind. Just like usual, there are 5 encounters. I would highly recommend increasing your encounter rate using encounter rate up badges or encounter rate up grass to ore. The reason why is because the dungeon map itself is very short, and you're better off just walking through and attacking 5 mobs quickly in succession for maximum points, because if you skip on those, you're just not going to get enough points. In comparison, you do get 100 points per mob, so if you get in groups of 3 or 4, you can get quite a bit of points out, as opposed to the outside world where you're getting very, very few. Not only that, at the beginning of the first area here, you can see that there's an area to either set a trap if you'd like, or I would recommend not and using the traps for the overworld instead. You could also just sprinkle bait and it resets in an hour, just like most of the overworld ones as well. Keep in mind that because you're trying to kill all 15 encounters, there are also horrors here. You'll have to watch really closely on your level of MP and use an appropriate team. Now, keep in mind that since a lot of it is fishing related, you will have to try to bring in as many of the 6 featured units as possible. In this case, I am bringing all 6. So a Nagi in any form, Milsha in any form, Quart in any form, Chio in any form, Sheila as well as Pisaka. If you have less of them, just bring more powerful DPS to help clear the mobs. Most of them are weak to earth, some of them are more weak to physical or magic, but that being said, an earth-based team such as the one that you see in front of you is more than adequate to take care of business. Now, in terms of having a low turns or low moves, I didn't optimize my Grasta. As you can clearly see, most of these fights do take a couple of turns and it's not just a one-click press. I'm sure I could optimize it in the future. However, at the moment, I just kind of wanted to run through relatively quickly. Make sure you kill those horrors as well. You get actually a lot of points with this one, especially the horrors. They give 2,000 points, and if you have the top multiplier, which is 2.41, that's almost 4,800 points, and that will get you a long way closer to getting that max 430,000 points. Now, you may be asking, why even bother with those points, right? Remember, you do get a bunch of Chrono Stones, up to, I haven't counted it up, but usually it's in the 500 range if you do all of them. You also get some Luring Shadow, Guiding Light, Prayer Scripts, and stuff. But really, the big prize for a lot of you, if you don't grind a lot or if you haven't had much luck, is those 3 guaranteed chat scripts as well. Okay, so back to the action. All the mobs are level 80, various weaknesses in general, but if you have a maxed out team, and I'm hoping at this point you do, because some of the challenges to get to this point is already pretty difficult already, then obviously you should have very little trouble in that sense as well. Especially if you have auto farmers such as earth-based ones like Aesubame, or so on and so forth. There's tons of ones I could suggest, but in this case, I'm keeping to my 6-person team, being that it's max points in that case. All right. And I didn't mention that earlier, but obviously remember that those pips were there. There were 5 of them, so there's 5 pearls to be found. Each of them is marked by sparkles, and it's also marked by a treasure bag on the map, so for easy looking. Now, in terms of the treasure chests themselves, for point treasure chest. This is a standard 2-2 map. So instead of the normal kind of dungeons where it's 2, 1, and 3 setup in terms of treasure chests in each area, you get a 2-2 setup. You'll also note that sometimes you'll run into a rare area in either area 2 or area 3. They'll have slightly different names, and how you really know is each chest in a normal area gives you kind of like 400 or 500 points. In the case of the rare areas, you'll see 800 to 1,000 of those celestial souls instead. In terms of how I'm clearing, you can see I'm using Clark AS with Soul Etoile. Again, my Grasta setup isn't perfect. I don't even have a bullseye, I don't think, on him because I was using him for other things, and so I really didn't optimize it, only because honestly it's been a pretty long grind to just even get to this point. As many of you know, if you've been doing this dungeon or the associated stories chapter 3 and 4, it's almost 8 hours of gameplay, not to mention for myself, of course, recording, editing, and just kind of doing a lot of this kind of background work. Man, oh man. So yeah, just kind of just walking right through. I mean, an extra minute in each run is probably a big deal, but not really that big deal. Now, for those who are relatively new to the harpoon fishing game, there are 3 different colors of the fishing. Blue is easy, yellow is moderate, and red is hard for your particular level. And so if you haven't already, make sure you do try to level it up. I assume by the time you get to chapter 4 and finish it up and get access to this, you'll have a relatively leveled up harpoon, probably in the 15 range, such that you can at least try to catch some of these. Now, in terms of the final boss, it's the Abyssal Queen, which was the final boss from chapter 4 as well. It does some interesting things. It speeds you up and then does an AoE, and then it'll slow you down turn 2. Hopefully you can end it by turn 2. In this case, I'm going to just use a strangle after one shot of Nidaria Edge. However, again, I'm sure you can find better ways to do it. An AF will obviously clear it. There are no HP stoppers that I know of in this fight, and it doesn't have that much. It's probably in the 5 million range in terms of boss XP HP. Okay, so the boss does give you 1,000 points times 2.41, so you can see the rewards there. And just so you know, you can get treatises. You can also get codexes and opuses. However, no chant scripts in this dungeon, being that is a point getting dungeon. Okay, so loadout on everyone, very similar to what you normally see. We obviously want to optimize and maximize the damage. In the case of Milsha, she's probably the only one you can carry Grasta with, being that she's a spear and you can use AS Sheila to carry. In the case of Clark versus Chio, I mean, you have to decide who's going to your DPS. If you want Clark to be, then Chio can cover and carry. If you want it the other way around, you can obviously optimize it for whatever's work. Keep in mind that you also have to optimize your speed such that certain moves go first, and so on and so forth. Pizzuka stayed in the back because really, she doesn't have a lot of raw DPS. Okay, so at the 50 mark, you won't see any more pips. However, you will get a gold badge, and your gold badge is a Dragon Palace Diamond. So make sure you claim that. Then go back to the weapon shop in the Siren's Village. Talk to the lady here on the left. And you can trade it in for an upgraded Otohime's Trident top rank. Keep in mind that you will have to have gotten the trident from the original Dragon Palace in order to have the upgraded one, which is not bad at all. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.